In this video, I'm about to reveal 45 bagel brands that are basically junk food and exactly why, plus 10 clean, real ingredient options that are actually worth buying, starting with number 45, Thomas. Thomas is the bagel brand almost everyone has tried at some point. Soft, chewy, familiar, and stacked in every grocery store like a breakfast essential. But behind that comforting reputation is a formula that behaves more like processed bread disguised as a bagel. Thomas relies heavily on enriched bleached flour, a refined carb that shoots blood sugar up fast, leaving you hungry again within an hour. The dough is boosted with dough conditioners like mono and diglycerides, ingredients used to keep mass-produced bread soft even weeks after baking. These additives don't improve nutrition, they just extend shelf life. Thomas's bagels also pack surprisingly high sodium, enough to make one bagel feel like an entire day's salt kick for anyone sensitive. And the texture? That perfect softness comes from a mix of refined flours and oils, not the slow fermented chewiness of a real New York-style bagel. They toast beautifully, yes, but nutrition-wise, they behave like sugary white bread in circular form. Number 44. Lender's. Lender's is that freezer aisle classic. Cheap, convenient, and everywhere. But the reason it lasts so long in the freezer is the exact reason it lands on the junk food side of the list. Ultra-processed dough built for storage, not health. Lender's bagels rely on highly refined flour, preservatives, and stabilizers designed to survive freezing, thawing, and reheating without falling apart. The problem? That process strips nearly all natural fiber, leaving a carb bomb that digests just as quickly as a donut. Lender's also uses added sugars and corn syrup solids to keep flavor after freezing, which worsens blood sugar spikes, something nutritionists warn about in refined breakfast products. The soft chew people expect from Lender's is created with emulsifiers and dough conditioners, not traditional fermentation. Even the plain flavor comes loaded with enough sodium to rival a fast food sandwich. Lender's may win in convenience, but nutritionally, it's a freezer-stable junk carb more than a real bagel. Number 43. Sara Lee. Sara Lee bagels look premium with their glossy packaging and soft bakery-style appearance, but the ingredient list reads more like processed bread than anything artisanal. These bagels rely heavily on high-fructose corn syrup or added sugars, giving them a sweeter profile that pushes them dangerously close to pastry territory. Combine that with refined flour and modified food starch, and you get a breakfast that behaves more like a dessert once it hits your bloodstream. Sara Lee also uses vegetable and seed oils, which are linked with inflammatory responses when eaten frequently. Their dough contains a cocktail of stabilizers designed to keep the bagel soft on the shelf, mimicking freshness long after absolute freshness is gone. The sodium levels are higher than most people expect from a bakery-style brand, making it easy to start your morning with a salt overload before you even add cream cheese. Sara Lee bagels look comforting and gentle, but nutritionally, they're a soft, sweet, highly processed carb bomb in disguise. Number 42. Great Value. Great Value bagels are the definition of mass-produced convenience. Low price, big packs, and long shelf life. But that shelf life comes at a cost. These bagels rely on refined, enriched flour, synthetic dough conditioners, and vegetable oils to create their soft, uniform texture. Instead of the slow fermentation that gives authentic bagels structure and digestibility, Great Value uses chemical leaveners and stabilizers that keep the dough soft even after days on the shelf. The result is a bagel that hits your bloodstream like a sugar surge, leaving you hungry again shortly after eating. Many flavors also contain added sugars, corn syrup solids, and caramel color, turning breakfast into a hidden dessert. The sodium levels run surprisingly high, and because these bagels are so soft, people often eat more than they would of a dense, traditional bagel. Great Value wins on affordability, but nutritionally, it behaves like a cheap, processed bread wheel, more junk food than breakfast fuel. Number 41. Market Pantry. Market Pantry bagels look clean and harmless inside Target's bright, friendly packaging, but the ingredient profile tells a different story. These bagels are built from bleached, enriched flour, giving them a fluffy, almost bread-like texture instead of the chewy, protein-dense bite a real bagel should have. To compensate, the formula uses dough conditioners, preservatives, and soybean oil, creating softness without actual fermentation. The high sugar content in certain flavors pushes them into the breakfast pastry category rather than a stable morning carb source. Nutritionally, Market pantry bagels deliver the classic refined carb crash. Fast energy, followed by hunger, followed by fatigue. And because the dough is so light and airy, it lacks the fiber and density that keep you full. Sodium levels are also higher than expected, stacking even more hidden dietary strain into a highly processed product. Market Pantry offers convenience, not nourishment. A bagel-shaped junk food that looks simple but behaves like sweetened white bread. Number 40. Kroger Bagels. Kroger's store-brand bagels sit in that middle zone where they look rustic but are built like industrial bread. These bagels depend on refined wheat flour, added sugars, and seed oils, all of which make the dough soft and easy to mass produce, but nutritionally empty. Kroger uses dough stabilizers and preservatives that give the bagels a strangely uniform texture, the same squishiness, whether they're fresh off the shelf or day old. That uniform softness is a sign of chemical conditioning, not traditional boiling and baking. Many Kroger flavors also contain extra caramel coloring, artificial flavors, or added sweeteners, turning a simple carb into a processed product closer to a snack cake's ingredient list. Because they digest so quickly, Kroger bagels can cause rapid glucose spikes, followed by hunger and energy drops, the same pattern nutritionists associate with junk breakfast foods. Number 39. Signature Select. Signature Select bagels look like a reliable grocery store staple, neatly packaged, soft, uniform, and available in every classic flavor. But the reason they look so perfectly identical is because they're built like industrial bread shaped into bagels, not like slow-fermented bakery products. Signature Select uses bleached, enriched flour, meaning most natural grains' nutrients and fibers are stripped out and then added back in synthetic form. The dough gets its softness from soybean oil and dough conditioners, not from the boil and bake method that gives traditional bagels their structure. These additives create a bagel that feels light and chewy, but digests incredibly fast, causing sharp blood sugar spikes and mid-morning hunger. Many flavors also contain added sugar, caramel coloring, and preservatives, making the bagel behave more like a processed snack than a balanced breakfast carb. Sodium is higher than necessary, and since the texture is so soft, it's easy to eat two without feeling full, doubling the refined carb impact. Number 38. Wonder Bagels. Wonder is famous for its ultra-soft bread, and its bagels follow the same formula. Extremely fluffy, highly processed, and extremely fast digesting. Authentic bagels are dense and chewy because they're boiled, fermented, and baked. Wonder skips that traditional density and instead uses refined, enriched flour, conditioners, and emulsifiers to create a pillowy texture that feels almost like a donut without the sugar glaze. These bagels include added sugars, sometimes multiple sweeteners, which push them into high glycemic territory. Nutritionists consistently warn that soft, white, refined flour products like Wonder Digest are absorbed so rapidly that they cause energy crashes, cravings, and unstable appetite rhythms. To maintain softness on shelves, Wonder Bagels also include preservatives and artificial dough strengtheners, creating a texture that feels fresh even when the nutrition is anything but. Number 37. Pepperidge Farm Bagels. Pepperidge Farm has a premium reputation, and its packaging gives off that bakery classic vibe. But the bagels themselves lean heavily on refined flour, sweeteners, and shelf life stabilizers, more like mass-produced bread than artisanal bagels. Many Pepperidge Farm varieties include added sugar, molasses, or corn syrup, creating a sweeter dough that breaks down quickly once eaten. Their texture is softer than traditional bagels because the formula uses vegetable oils and dough conditioners rather than long fermentation. This gives a pleasant chew but offers minimal fiber and almost no sustained energy. Sodium levels are also higher than you'd expect, and the sweetness-salt combination makes these bagels surprisingly addictive. One of the reasons people often eat more than intended. Their cinnamon raisin and flavored varieties especially border on pastry-level sugar content. Number 36. Franz Bagels. Franz Bagels look like classic West Coast bakery staples. Big, fluffy, picture-perfect rings that toast beautifully and smell comforting. But their biggest issue starts with that oversized fluffiness. Franz uses a rapid rise proofing process, where dough is inflated quickly using commercial yeast accelerators and moisture-locking oils. That creates a soft, airy bagel that looks appealing but lacks the dense chew and slow fermentation of a real boiled bagel. That airy structure means the carbs digest even faster than typical grocery bagels, closer to a breakfast roll than a structured bagel. Franz also relies on added sugars in multiple forms: dextrose, cane sugar, sometimes even malt syrup, which caramelize during baking and give the crust that shiny look, but also spike blood sugar rapidly. Their sodium-carb ratio is heavy, making one bagel feel like a salty, sweet dough pillow rather than a stable breakfast. Franz bagels look bakery fresh, but nutritionally, they behave like puffed-up, fast-carb bread rings built for softness, not substance. Number 35. Ora Wheat Bagels. Ora Wheat gives itself a premium bakery aura with its hearty packaging and seeded varieties, but underneath that wholesome exterior sits one of the most dense and sodium-loaded bagel formulas in the grocery aisle. Ora Wheat uses a heavily fortified enriched flour base, combined with oil-enriched dough that creates a chewy but oily bite, more like a processed bun than a traditionally boiled bagel. The real issue? Sodium levels that creep shockingly high, often crossing what nutritionists call the breakfast salt threshold, where a single serving delivers more salt than most people should consume before noon. Many flavors also carry hidden sweeteners that darken the crust and improve browning, making the bagel taste richer than its actual grain quality. Because the dough is dense and oil-conditioned, it sits heavier in the stomach, causing a slow drag feeling. Some consumers complain about a laggy digestion pattern familiar with oil-padded processed breads. Number 34. Dave's Killer Bagels. Dave's Killer is known for being the healthy bread brand, which is why their regular high-sugar bagel line catches so many people off guard. These bagels look wholesome and grainy, but the flavored varieties often contain more added sugar than several frosted breakfast pastries. Dave's uses organic sweeteners, cane sugar, fruit juice concentrates, and molasses, but organic sugar is still sugar. In these bagels, it's used generously to create a softer dough and a sweeter crust. The multigrain appearance gives a health halo, yet the flour blend is still mostly refined wheat, with whole grains sprinkled in for visual appeal. Because of this, the bagels digest quickly despite looking hearty. The sweetness also activates cravings, making it easy to eat more than one. Many versions rely on seed oils and natural flavor boosters to maintain softness in sealed packaging, creating a bagel that performs like a sweetened processed bread rather than a high-fiber breakfast. Dave's Killer Bagels' high-sugar line looks healthy, but nutritionally they lean toward dessert-level sweetness, wrapped in a grainy disguise. Number 33. Einstein Bros. Grocery Bagels. Einstein Bros. Makes fantastic fresh bagels in-store, but their grocery store packaged version is an entirely different product. These bagels are engineered to survive shipping, sitting, and long shelf life, which means the dough has been modified with starch strengtheners, moisture-lock gums, and oil-based softeners that keep the texture from going stale. The result is a bagel that feels chewy on the outside but behaves like compressed sandwich bread on the inside. Einstein's grocery line also relies heavily on added sugars to replicate the caramelized crust you get from real boiling and baking. This fake crust browning makes the bagel look artisan but acts like a sugary glaze once digested. The carb density is high, the fiber is low, and the energy crash is fast, something nutritionists see often in preserved mass-market bagels. Even their plain versions carry enough sodium to mimic a fast food breakfast. Number 32. Dunkin' Grocery Bagels. Dunkin' Bakery bagels are already softer and sweeter than traditional New York-style bagels, but their grocery store packaged version takes that softness to the extreme. These bagels are built around a sweet dough enriched with dextrose, corn-derived sugars, and dough relaxers, ingredients used to keep mass-produced bread fluffy for days. Instead of the dense chew you expect from a real bagel, Dunkin's grocery bagels have a cake-like crumb that makes them digest incredibly fast, producing what dietitians call the bagel sugar surge. The dough contains vegetable oils and emulsifiers that help maintain softness even after microwaving or toasting, but these oils leave the bagel nutritionally empty and high in calories. Many flavors, even plain, hide enough sugar to blur the line between breakfast and dessert. Number 31. Publix Bagels. Publix is known for its strong store-brand bakery department, but the bagged grocery bagels are nowhere near bakery quality. These bagels rely on fast-rise commercial yeast, oil-enriched dough, and stabilizers that keep them soft and springy long after they should naturally firm up. The texture looks hearty, but the internal crumb tells the real story. It's uniform and spongy, a sign of dough that was aerated quickly rather than slowly fermented. This leads to a digestion pattern similar to soft white bread. Quick breakdown, quick glucose spike, quick hunger return. Publix bagels also contain added sugars to enhance browning, giving them that attractive golden look without real caramelization. Sodium levels are moderate but still unnecessary for a breakfast carb. Because the dough is so airy, people naturally eat more, doubling the refined carb intake without realizing it. Publix bagels look thick and bakery style, but their spongy, fast-digesting formula makes them closer to processed breakfast bread than an authentic bagel. Number 29. Winco Bagels. Winco bagels sit in the warehouse-style grocery category, big, cheap, and engineered for long shelf stability. Their dough formula relies on refined wheat flour, oil blends, and dough stabilizers that keep the bagel soft for extended periods, even in low humidity. This creates a texture that feels oddly foamy, with evenly spaced air pockets that signal rapid-proof dough, not traditional bagel craftsmanship. Winco also uses glaze-like sweeteners to enhance crust color, giving the surface that appealing golden sheen while adding unnecessary sugars. These bagels digest extremely fast, offering a quick burst of energy followed by a noticeable crash, something dietitians associate with low-fiber, oil-softened doughs. Because Winco's formula is built for storage and transport, not authenticity, the bagel lacks depth, chew, and satiety, leaving you hungry again far sooner than expected. Number 28. Food Lion Bagels. Food Lion bagels look clean, basic packaging, classic flavors, nothing fancy, but the formula behind them is aggressively processed. These bagels rely on a high-sugar dough conditioning blend, where sweeteners like dextrose and malt extract are added not for flavor, but to force rapid browning and moisture retention. This makes the bagel look bakery fresh, even when the dough inside is closer to supermarket white bread. Food Lion also uses synthetic conditioners and gum stabilizers, which create a bouncy interior that feels almost too soft to be real. Because the fiber content is low and the carb density high, these bagels produce what nutritionists call the empty chew effect. You chew a lot but receive very little fuel or satiety in return. The sodium to carb ratio is unbalanced, amplifying dehydration and hunger shortly after eating. Number 27. Harris Teeter Bagels. Harris Teeter Bagels often look more premium store brand compared to other grocery chains, but their formula leans on oil-enriched dough and fermentation shortcuts that flatten nutritional value. These bagels use a softening system built on canola oil, emulsifiers, and stabilizers, producing a tender, almost pastry-like interior instead of the dense chew expected from authentic boiled bagels. The crust gets its color from added sweeteners and browning agents, not from proper caramelization. The dough digests quickly, leading to rapid glucose elevation followed by the familiar mid-morning crash. Many consumers report these bagels feeling light but not filling, which makes sense, as the refined flour breaks down too fast to offer sustained energy. Sodium sits on the higher side as well, adding heaviness despite the soft texture. Harris Teeter bagels look polished and bakery-inspired, but their smooth, oil-conditioned dough pushes them firmly into junk carb territory. Number 25. Giant Eagle Bagels. Giant Eagle's bagels sit in that slightly premium grocery brand zone, but the ingredients tell a very different story. These bagels use oil-enriched dough that makes them soft and pliable, the same technique industrial bakeries use to keep bread from going stale. Food science studies have shown that oil-softened dough collapses faster during digestion, creating what experts call rapid carb availability, essentially your body treating the bagel like sweetened white bread. Giant Eagle also uses dough conditioners that strengthen gluten artificially, allowing the dough to puff and rise quickly without long fermentation. That lack of fermentation is significant because research from multiple nutrition institutes shows real fermentation improves digestibility and stabilizes blood sugar, something these bagels never achieve. With added sugar for browning and a sodium profile higher than many sandwich breads, the bagel becomes heavy without offering lasting energy. Number 24. Meyer Bagels. Meyer bagels look thick, hearty, and classic, but the dough is built for shelf stability, not authentic bagel texture. These bagels rely on gum stabilizers and moisture-retaining oils, which food technology experts often describe as the sponge effect. The dough stays soft for weeks. Still, nutritionally, it behaves like an air-filled white roll. Research in the Journal of Nutrition has discussed how ultra-processed breads create a fast metabolic spike, because the structure of the dough breaks apart too easily during digestion. That's precisely how Meyer bagels behave. They also contain sweeteners such as dextrose to make the crust brown faster, giving the illusion of artisanal baking, even though the dough was never boiled traditionally. Sodium levels are moderate, but the carb load is exceptionally high with minimal fiber, making the bagel feel filling for minutes but offering zero lasting power. Number 23. Hy-Vee bagels. Hy-Vee bagels often appear more old-school grocery than heavily processed, but their formula includes several commercial bakery tricks that weaken their nutritional profile. These bagels use refined wheat flour reinforced with dough relaxers, ingredients food scientists associate with mass production consistency rather than traditional baking. Relaxers let the dough spread wider and puff faster, which is why Hy-Vee bagels often look large but feel surprisingly light. This lightness comes with a downside. Nutrition research shows that airy, low-density breads digest extremely quickly, creating a blood sugar spike similar to eating sweetened rolls. Hy-Vee also adds multiple sweeteners that caramelize under heat, which mimics the browned crust of a real boiled bagel but without the fermentation depth. Sodium levels lean high, and the lack of fiber means hunger returns quickly, something the American Heart Association has highlighted in discussions about refined grain breakfast foods. Number 22. H-E-B bagels. H-E-B is known for strong store-brand quality, but its packaged bagels fall into the same industrial trap as many grocery chains. These bagels use a fast hydration dough system, where high-water dough mixed with oil-based softeners creates a fluffy interior without slow fermentation. Food technology researchers often note that high-moisture doughs break down quickly in digestion, causing rapid carbohydrate release, the same pattern seen in soft buns and white rolls. H-E-B also uses sweeteners like malt extract to force crust color, a shortcut used in many ultra-processed breads. While this gives the bagel a rich, toasted appearance, nutrition experts explain that sugar-induced browning doesn't contribute to real nutrition. The sodium load is moderate but unnecessary, and the bagel's airy texture offers little satiety. According to multiple refined grain studies, low-density bagels result in quicker hunger and inconsistent energy. Number 21. Trader Joe's regular bagels. Trader Joe's has a cult following, but their regular bagels aren't crafted with the same artisanal care as their specialty products. These bagels rely on refined flour and rapid proofing techniques, which food science research says eliminate the structural complexity that comes from long fermentation. Without that fermentation, the bagel loses both digestibility and nutrient availability. Trader Joe's also uses added sugars to deepen crust color and create a slightly sweet profile. Even their plain flavors trend sweeter than traditional bagels. Harvard nutrition experts have pointed out that refined, sweetened breads trigger strong glucose spikes followed by mid-morning fatigue, exactly the pattern you get from these bagels. The texture looks firm, but the inside feels soft and bready, a sign of emulsifiers and oil-conditioned dough. The result is a bagel that is enjoyable and familiar, but nutritionally shallow. Trader Joe's regular bagels look classic, but function more like soft, sweet, fast-digesting breakfast bread. Number 20. Walmart Sam's Choice Bagels. Sam's Choice markets itself as Walmart's more premium offering, but the upgrades are primarily aesthetic. These bagels rely on enhanced softening oils and dough stabilizers, the same tools big manufacturers use to make bread stay fresh-looking for weeks. Food science studies explain that stabilizer-heavy dough traps air unevenly, giving the bagel that soft, bouncy bite, but virtually no nutritional density. Sam's Choice also includes multiple sweeteners for flavor and browning, which contribute to the classic problem nutrition experts warn about. Refined carbs, paired with added sugars, create fast energy followed by a sharp energy crash. Sodium runs high, especially in flavored varieties, adding heaviness without offering satiety. The crust texture looks convincing, but it's created through sugar-aided browning, not through the boil and bake process authentic bagels require. Number 19. Big Y bagels. Big Y bagels fall into the category of local grocery bakery look, industrial formula underneath. These bagels depend on moisture lock oils, sweetened crust agents, and quick-rise dough, all techniques designed for mass production. Food scientists have noted that when dough rises too quickly, its internal gluten network weakens, making the bread digest faster and spike glucose more aggressively. Big Y's airy interior and soft crust are the result of this shortcut. Added sugars help browning, but also push the carb profile further into dessert territory. Sodium is high enough to add weight to the bagel despite its soft texture. According to refined grain metabolic research, the combination of low fiber and fast-rise dough triggers early hunger and reduced satiety, exactly the experience many grocery store bagels create. Big Y bagels look home-style, but their quick-rise, sugar-conditioned dough makes them nutritionally closer to processed burger buns than authentic bagels. Number 18. Stop and Shop bagels. Stop and Shop bagels look like classic East Coast grocery staples, but the dough formula is heavily dependent on industrial bread enhancers. These bagels use dough relaxers and emulsifiers that make the dough easier to pump through commercial lines, creating a smooth, uniform texture with none of the complexity of a boiled bagel. Nutrition researchers repeatedly highlight that emulsifier-heavy breads digest unusually fast because their structure collapses in the gut more easily. Stop and Shop also adds sweeteners, like dextrose, for browning, and the sweet-salty balance mimics pastry-like digestion, a quick carb hit, short-lived fullness, and an energy dip soon after. The crust looks authentic, but most of that color comes from sugar caramelization rather than proper baking. Stop and Shop bagels appear traditional, but inside, they're soft, processed, and metabolically closer to sweetened white bread than an authentic bagel. Number 17. Shaw's bagels. Shaw's bagels look like the kind of old-school New England grocery staple you'd toss into your cart without thinking. Simple packaging, familiar flavors, nothing flashy. But when it comes to nutrition, these bagels rely on the same industrial shortcuts that food scientists warn about in most mass-market bread products. Shaw's uses refined, enriched flour, which Harvard nutrition groups have repeatedly linked to rapid blood sugar spikes and low satiety. Their dough is boosted with emulsifiers and oil-based conditioners that make the bagel softer, but researchers in food technology note that these ingredients weaken the natural gluten network, causing the dough to break down too quickly in digestion. Shaw's crust browns beautifully, but most of that color comes from sugar-enhanced caramelization rather than actual boiling. Sodium levels lean high, and the crumb texture is airy enough to encourage overeating something refined grain studies have highlighted as a typical pattern in soft, low-fiber breakfast products. Number 16. King Soopers bagels. King Soopers bagels lean heavily on high-moisture dough and quick fermentation, giving them a soft, puffed interior that lacks the density of an authentic bagel. Food science research shows that rapid-proof dough collapses easily during digestion, acting more like a sweet roll than a slow-release carb. King Soopers also uses added sugars and malt extract for crust color, a technique bread researchers describe as visual freshness. The golden look hides how processed the base really is. Their formula includes canola oil and dough relaxers, ingredients that stretch the dough artificially so it rises big without gaining nutritional depth. According to nutrition experts, low-fiber refined breads like these tend to produce quick energy followed by fatigue, which is why many people feel hungry again soon after eating store-brand bagels. King Soopers bagels offer volume without substance, big, soft, and visually appealing, but nutritionally thin and fast-burning. Number 15. Ralph's bagels. Ralph's bagels fall into the soft but heavy category, a style created through oil-enriched dough and short fermentation cycles. This method gives the bagel its smooth, bouncy texture, but food science studies warn that oil-softened refined breads digest extremely fast and fail to provide steady energy. Ralph's also leans on sweeteners like dextrose for browning, producing a crust that looks authentic but comes from sugar caramelization rather than traditional boiling. Nutrition research has shown that this combination of fast-rise dough, added sugars, and low fiber creates what experts call the quick burn effect, a burst of energy followed by a mid-morning slump. Their sodium levels are surprisingly high, adding heaviness despite the soft texture. Ralph's bagels look hearty, but their oil-softened, sugar-conditioned formula makes them metabolically similar to processed sandwich bread, not authentic bagels. Number 14. Fry's bagels. Fry's bagels look thick and satisfying on the outside, but the inside tells another story, a uniform, sponge-like crumb created by stabilizers and moisture-retaining oils. Food technologists often refer to this as the factory sponge effect, a dough engineered to stay soft instead of developing structure. This softness means the bagel digests rapidly, and nutrition findings from refined grain studies show that low-density, airy dough leads to sharper glucose rise and shorter satiety. Fry's also uses malted barley syrup and sugar for enhanced browning, a common technique in large grocery chains. The crust appears rich and well-baked, but it's mostly sugar reacting under heat, not proper artisanal caramelization. Their sodium levels are moderate, but unnecessary given the bagel's already processed profile. Number 13. Weiss Bagels. Weiss bagels look thick and honest, the kind of simple grocery store item you'd expect to be straightforward. But their most significant issue is the over-aerated dough structure, a baking shortcut where the dough is pumped with more air pockets than traditional fermented bagels. Food engineers have noted that overly aerated refined breads break apart extremely fast in digestion, creating what they call a rapid-release carb effect. This makes Weiss bagels feel substantial in your hand, but nutritionally behave like light white rolls. Weiss also relies on sweetened crust enhancers that imitate artisanal browning but add unnecessary sugars. Many bagels contain conditioners that keep the texture soft even after days on the shelf, a sign of industrial baking rather than slow fermentation. According to whole grain research groups, low-density, high-air dough products produce shorter satiety and stronger hunger rebound. Weiss bagels appear hefty, but their airy, sugar-tinted dough collapses fast, turning breakfast into a quick-burning carb surge. Number 12. Western Family Bagels. Western Family Bagels sit in the budget regional brand category, and their formula reflects the cost-cutting approach. These bagels rely heavily on starch extenders, a class of additives, food scientists say, create a smooth, uniform crumb but drastically reduce natural grain structure. This is why the inside feels almost custard soft when warmed. Western Family also uses browning syrups that create a shiny crust. Still, according to food chemistry experts, syrup-browned crusts often digest faster because the sugars react quickly with digestive enzymes. Their sodium-to-carb ratio is noticeably unbalanced, something the American Heart Association has repeatedly highlighted as a risk in inexpensive packaged breads. This combination of soft starch, added sugars, and high salt leads to a metabolic pattern nutritionists call carb and salt bounce, where energy rises sharply and drops just as fast. Western Family Bagels deliver softness at the cost of nutrition, offering a glossy crust and a dough that digests more like sweet bread than a real bagel. Number 11. Price Chopper Bagels. Price Chopper Bagels look wholesome and East Coast traditional, but the dough tells another story. These bagels are made using retarder proofing, a commercial technique where dough is chilled, then blasted with steam heat to force a quick rise. Food processing experts explain that this method disrupts gluten alignment, producing a dough that feels chewy but metabolically acts like a simple refined carb hit. Caramel coloring and sugar boosters are added to mimic the golden crust of boiled bagels, but the inside remains bread-like and fast digesting. Nutrition research has consistently shown that breads with disrupted gluten structure create less satiety and more rapid glucose elevations. Sodium levels hover on the heavier side, meaning the bagel feels hearty but provides little nutritional stability. Price Chopper bagels look rustic, but their steam-forced rise and sugar-browned crust make them behave like soft, quick-burning processed bread rounds. Number 10. Piggly Wiggly Bagels. Piggly Wiggly Bagels carry that nostalgic southern grocery store charm, but inside the bag lies one of the most oil-dependent dough formulas in the mass-market bagel aisle. These bagels use oil emulsification, a bakery method where canola or soybean oil is whipped into the dough to keep it soft indefinitely. Food science reviews show that oil-emulsified dough digests even faster than standard refined breads because oils weaken the internal structure that typically slows carbohydrate breakdown. Piggly Wiggly also uses sweetened malt syrups that give the crust a darker caramel tone, a technique researchers describe as cosmetic browning, which adds sweetness but not nutrition. Combined with low fiber and fast melt-in-the-mouth softness, the bagel produces a metabolic spike similar to sweet rolls or breakfast pastries. Piggly Wiggly bagels look comforting and old-fashioned, but their oil-whipped, sugar-browned dough puts them firmly in the junk carb category. Number 9. Dollar Tree/Greenbrier Bagels. Dollar Tree's Greenbrier Bagels look budget-friendly and clean, but their formula leans on one of the most extreme preservation-heavy dough profiles in grocery manufacturing. These bagels contain moisture-retaining gums and anti-staling agents that food science researchers describe as softness stabilizers, ingredients designed not for flavor, but for survival on shelves without refrigeration. Because the flour is highly refined and the dough structure is chemically softened, digestive breakdown becomes extremely rapid. Nutrition researchers have noted that ultra-processed breads with heavy gum content create a slippery digestion effect, where carbs are absorbed faster than traditional grain products. The crust is usually pale, then darkened with sweeteners that caramelize quickly in low-cost ovens. Sodium levels are inflated to help preservation, not taste. Number 8. Dollar General Clover Valley Bagels. Clover Valley Bagels from Dollar General use a completely different industrial trick: dough density compression. Instead of inflating the dough with air, these bagels are made thick and tight to withstand long-distance shipping. Food processing specialists have explained that compressed refined dough digests in a single-phase breakdown, meaning the entire carb load hits the bloodstream quickly instead of gradually. Clover Valley also uses caramel coloring and sweetened malt to give the crust a baked-from-scratch shine. Still, nutrition scientists point out that caramel colors in baked goods rarely improve flavor or structure. They simply mask low fermentation quality. The interior texture tends to be rubbery instead of chewy because dough relaxers soften the gluten too much. This combination of dense dough, added sugars, and flour conditioners creates minimal satiety and an energy dip soon after eating. Clover Valley bagels feel heavy in the hand but behave like compressed, fast-burning carb blocks once eaten. Number 7. Family Dollar Bagels. Family Dollar Bagels use a high-preservation dough matrix, something bakery technologists have described as the value tier formula, with maximum shelf life, minimum fermentation. These bagels rely on inexpensive refined flour strengthened with artificial gluten boosters so the dough can survive weeks in transit. According to bread quality studies, gluten boosters accelerate rise but also reduce internal stability, making digestion faster and increasing post-meal hunger. Family Dollar's bagels also use multiple sweeteners to improve taste, and research from major nutrition institutes has shown that sweetened refined grains trigger the same short energy window seen in pastries and sugary breads. Their crust is usually soft rather than crisp because steam baking replaces traditional boiling, removing the density that authentic bagels are known for. Family Dollar bagels look basic and harmless, but their booster-filled, steam-softened dough turns them into quick-hit, low-nutrition carbs with almost no staying power. Number 6. Sprouts Regular Bagels. Sprouts has a strong reputation for clean ingredients, which is why their regular, non-clean line bagels catch people off guard. These bagels rely on additive-heavy dough, including stabilizers and sweetening agents designed to keep the texture soft on shelves. Food science researchers have shown that when dough relies more on conditioners and less on natural fermentation, the result is a rapid-digesting carbohydrate that spikes blood sugar far quicker than traditional bagels. The biggest issue is the subtle surface sweetness. Ingredients like malt extract create an attractive golden crust, but nutrition experts point out that sugar-brown crusts do not offer the same digestibility or satiety as real fermented dough. Studies on refined grains consistently show that sweetened bakery products lead to quick energy followed by a crash, something many shoppers notice with these bagels. Sprouts' branding makes them look clean, but this particular line doesn't follow slow rise or minimally processed methods. Number 5. Panera Grocery Bagels. Panera Cafe bagels feel fresh and artisanal, but their grocery store packaged versions rely on a very different formula. To extend shelf life, the dough is packed with moisture-binding starches, sweeteners, and oil-based softeners, ingredients that food technologists identify as common in long-lasting commercial breads. Researchers in bread science explain that when dough is kept soft using stabilizers rather than fermentation, it tends to digest extremely fast and create a sharp glycemic response. Panera's packaged bagels also contain more sugar than people expect. Even plain varieties have added sweeteners that deepen the crust color. Nutrition experts have often noted that sweetened, refined grains behave like pastries: quick energy, quick crash, and little lasting fullness. The inside texture feels fluffy rather than dense, suggesting rapid rise processing instead of the traditional boil and bake method. Panera's bakery image feels premium, but their packaged bagels rely heavily on industrial shortcuts: soft, sweet, and metabolically closer to pastries than authentic bagels. Number 4. Entenmann's Bagels. Entenmann's is famous for cakes and sweetbreads, and their bagels follow a surprisingly similar formula. These bagels use a sweeter dough than most grocery brands, giving the crust a faint glaze-like feel. Food chemistry experts have explained that bagels made with pastry-style sweeteners experience a faster crystalline breakdown, meaning they digest quickly and behave more like a dessert than a dense breakfast carb. Stabilizers and emulsifiers also play a significant role in the texture. These additives keep the dough soft for long periods, but bread researchers warn that emulsified dough breaks down rapidly in the digestive tract, causing quick glucose spikes and poor satiety. Combined with minimal fiber and a light, soft interior, this creates the same metabolic pattern repeatedly observed in sweetened baked goods. Entenmann's bagels may look traditional, but their sweet, soft, pastry-leaning formula puts them closer to dessert bread than an authentic bagel, more sugar rush than steady morning fuel. Number 3. Bimbo Bagels. Bimbo is one of the biggest industrial bread manufacturers in the world, and their bagels reflect the mass production philosophy the brand is known for. These bagels rely heavily on dough conditioners, softening oils, and stabilizers that keep the product uniform across huge shipping distances. Bread researchers often point out that conditioner-heavy dough loses the dense, structured gluten network authentic bagels need. Instead, the texture becomes soft and spongy, similar to packaged hamburger buns. Bimbo also uses multiple sweeteners to achieve a deep golden crust, a technique food science experts call cosmetic browning. The color looks artisanal, but the base dough never goes through slow fermentation. Nutrition studies on ultra-processed grains consistently show that these ingredients create rapid digestion and weak satiety, leading to quick hunger and unstable energy. The sodium load is also notable, adding heaviness despite the soft texture. Number 2. Bake Shop Bakery. Bake Shop Bakery is a private label line found in several supermarket chains, and while the branding feels local and handmade, the formula is far from small batch. These bagels typically rely on a pre-mixed industrial dough base shipped to multiple retailers, which means minimal fermentation and heavy reliance on emulsifiers to standardize texture. Food scientists explain that when dough is pre-mixed and stored, the gluten structure weakens, creating bread that looks dense but digests at the same rate as soft white rolls. Bake Shop bagels also use sweetened malt, which gives the crust a nice cafe-style sheen. But nutrition experts have noted that malt-sweetened refined grains create short-lived energy and quick mid-morning crashes. Compared to authentic boiled bagels, these versions lack the tight chew and instead feel airy and tender, signs of stabilizer-supported dough rather than slow-rise baking. Bake Shop bagels look bakery fresh in the package, but their pre-mixed, emulsifier-supported formula behaves more like soft, processed bread than authentic bagels. Number 1. Wegmans Regular Bagels. Wegmans is known for quality, so many shoppers assume their regular bagels are close to bakery-made, but the formula is surprisingly refined and shortcut-driven. These bagels are made with enriched flour and steam-assisted baking. A method bread technologists say produces a surface crust without the true gelatinization that happens in boiled dough. This creates a bagel that looks authentic but has the internal structure of soft sandwich bread. Wegmans also relies on added sugars to enhance browning and flavor, and multiple nutrition research groups have highlighted that sweetened refined grains create a rapid glucose rise and inconsistent satiety. The dough is noticeably softer than traditional bagels because of oil-based tenderizers, which food science experts associate with the soft crumb collapse, a digestion pattern where the bread breaks down instantly and releases carbs quickly. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. Not every bagel is packed with refined flour, additives, and junk ingredients. Here are 10 brands you can actually trust, starting with number 10, Dave's Killer Bagels. Dave's Killer's Organic Clean line is the version that actually lives up to the brand's reputation. These bagels skip the added sugars, artificial conditioners, and enriched flours found in many grocery store alternatives. Instead, the dough relies on organic whole grains and natural fermentation, which digestion researchers often highlight for creating a slower, steadier release of energy. This means fewer spikes and drops, and more stable fullness throughout the morning. The ingredient list is short and recognizable, including organic wheat flour, seeds, and whole grains with no artificial preservatives. Food scientists have long noted that seed-rich breads improve satiety because the natural fats and fibers slow down carbohydrate breakdown. The texture is firm, not overly soft, indicating minimal processing and a more authentic bagel structure. Dave's Organic Clean line isn't perfect, but it's a far cleaner, more nutrient-steady option compared to typical grocery bagels. Stable energy, simpler ingredients, and genuinely better grain quality. Number 9. Alvarado Street Bakery Sprouted Bagels. Alvarado Street Bakery is known for its sprouted grain philosophy, and their bagels are a standout for people wanting cleaner, more digestible carbs. Sprouting partially breaks down the grain's starches and makes nutrients more available, something whole grain nutrition researchers have praised for decades. This process often leads to lower glycemic impact because the grain structure isn't as refined or rapidly digesting. These bagels use minimal sweeteners, no artificial preservatives, and rely on slow-rise, whole-grain dough instead of stabilized softeners. The density comes naturally from real fermentation, not conditioners. Because sprouted grains contain more natural fiber and micronutrients, many people experience more stable fullness and less mid-morning hunger. The texture is hearty but not tough, showing that the dough wasn't chemically softened. Alvarado Street Bagels offer a genuinely clean, sprouted, nutrient-forward experience. A wise choice for anyone wanting steadier digestion and fewer processed ingredients. Number 8. Ezekiel 4-9 Sprouted Grain Bagels. Ezekiel's sprouted bagels are among the cleanest, mass-distributed options available. They contain no flour at all. Instead, they're built entirely from sprouted wheat, barley, millet, spelt, lentils, and beans. Whole grain researchers often point to sprouted multigrain blends as some of the slowest digesting carbohydrates, offering long-lasting energy without blood sugar spikes. Because there's no refined flour, no added sugar, and no commercial dough conditioners, the texture is dense and hearty, a sign of actual whole food structure. Nutrition experts frequently highlight sprouted breads for their higher protein-to-carb ratio and better micronutrient retention compared to traditional refined grain products. Ezekiel also avoids preservatives, relying on freezing for freshness, which keeps the ingredient list clean and simple. Ezekiel 4-9 Sprouted bagels are one of the most nutrient-dense, minimally processed bagel options you can buy. High fiber, no sweeteners, no additives, and naturally slow burning. Number 7. Silver Hills Sprouted Bagels. Silver Hills is built around one core idea: whole grains that are sprouted, not refined. Their sprouted bagels use a simple blend of organic sprouted wheat and oat fiber without the added sugars, preservatives, or dough conditioners common in standard grocery bagels. Sprouting naturally alters the grain structure, and whole grain researchers often highlight that sprouted grains offer slower digestion, better mineral absorption, and steadier energy compared to traditional flour-based breads. Silver Hills also keeps sodium moderate and avoids the oil-softening shortcuts that make mass-market bagels digest too quickly. The texture is hearty rather than fluffy, which nutrition experts describe as a positive sign of intact grain structure. Because sprouted grains contain more natural fiber and protein, these bagels tend to provide longer fullness and a gentler metabolic curve. Silver Hills delivers a clean, sprouted, minimally processed bagel that supports stable energy and better nutrient availability. A genuinely healthier choice. Number 6. One Mighty Mill. One Mighty Mill uses a method most big brands abandoned decades ago: fresh stone milling their own organic wheat. This process preserves the natural oils, fiber, and nutrients in the grain that industrial roller mills usually strip away. Bread scientists often point out that freshly milled whole wheat provides a richer nutrient profile and digests more gradually than refined flour. These bagels rely on slow fermentation, no conditioners, no preservatives, and no added sugars, giving them a dense, authentic texture closer to traditional New England bagels. The flavor comes naturally from the grain itself, not from sweeteners or browning agents. Because the flour is milled in-house and not stored for months, the dough maintains more antioxidants and micronutrients, something whole grain research groups consistently highlight as a nutritional advantage. One Mighty Mill bagels are one of the most authentic, real food bagels on the market, with fresh grain, slow-rise dough, clean ingredients, and steady digestion without the crash. Number 5. Better Brand Low Carb. Better Brand takes an entirely different approach to a low-carb, high-protein, clean formula tailored for people who want a bagel without the blood sugar spike. Instead of enriched flour or refined starches, these bagels use almond flour, oat fiber, and plant proteins to create a slower digesting structure. Nutrition researchers often note that high-fiber, low-sugar baked goods lead to better satiety and a more stable glucose response, which is precisely the strength of Better Brands' formula. They avoid preservatives, artificial sweeteners, and conditioners, relying instead on natural binders and fibers that slow carb absorption. The texture is slightly softer than traditional bagels, but the trade-off is a dramatically lower glycemic impact. For people watching carbs, blood sugar, or weight management, the ingredient profile is significantly cleaner than almost any grocery store bagel. Better Brand bagels offer a clean, low-carb alternative that's high in protein, free from additives, and built for slow, steady digestion instead of rapid spikes. Number 4. Simple Needs Gluten-Free Bagels. Simple Needs stands out because it avoids the usual gluten-free shortcuts like starchy fillers, gums, and overly processed blends. Instead, their bagels use whole food gluten-free grains, sorghum, millet, buckwheat, and seeds, which provide significantly more natural fiber and micronutrients than typical rice starch GF formulas. Nutrition researchers have noted that whole grain gluten-free products often deliver steadier energy and better gut response because they don't rely on the fast-digesting starches found in most GF bread. Simple Needs also avoids preservatives and artificial stabilizers, letting the density come from real ingredients instead of manufactured texture enhancers. The bagels feel hearty, not gummy or marshmallow soft, which food scientists consider a sign of lower processing. For gluten-sensitive people, the clean ingredient list and whole grain base make digestion smoother and more predictable. Simple Needs delivers one of the cleanest gluten-free bagel options, dense, whole grain, naturally high in fiber, and free from the usual GF additives. Number 3. Against the Grain Gluten-Free Bagels. Against the Grain takes an entirely different approach to gluten-free baking by using tapioca dough baked like traditional bread, not fluffed with gums or fillers. This results in a chewy, satisfying texture without the additives that many GF brands rely on. Food researchers have explained that tapioca-based baked goods, when paired with real oils and simple ingredients, create a cleaner digestive pattern compared to starch blends full of stabilizers. These bagels use recognizable ingredients: eggs, cheese, tapioca, and minimal seasonings, avoiding preservatives and artificial flavors. Because the formula is short and natural, people with gluten intolerance often find it easier on the stomach. While tapioca is still a quick-digesting carb, the fat and protein from the cheese base slow the absorption, leading to a more balanced metabolic response. Against the Grain offers a simple ingredient, gluten-free bagel that avoids gums, fillers, and preservatives, clean, satisfying, and gentler on digestion than most GF options. Number 2. Izio Artisan Bagels. Izio is one of the rare grocery store brands that follows classic bakery principles: slow fermentation, real flour, natural starters, and no artificial conditioners. Bread scientists have long highlighted that slow fermented dough improves digestibility by breaking down gluten and starches more efficiently. Izio's long rise process creates a tight, chewy structure that behaves like a traditional boiled bagel rather than a soft, factory-made one. They also avoid added sugars in most varieties, relying on natural grain flavor instead of caramelized sweeteners. Cleaner sodium levels and a short ingredient list make the formula much closer to what you'd find in an authentic artisan bakery. Nutrition experts often note that slow-fermented breads cause more stable energy and smoother digestion, which is precisely the advantage of Izio's approach. Izio Artisan Bagels delivers an authentic, slow-fermented, minimally processed bagel experience with clean ingredients, bakery texture, and naturally balanced nutrition. Number 1. Canyon Bakehouse Gluten-Free Bagels. Canyon Bakehouse is one of the most trusted gluten-free bread brands for a reason. Clean ingredients, no artificial preservatives, and a balanced GF flour blend that isn't overloaded with starches. Their bagels use whole grain brown rice flour, millet, and quinoa to provide more fiber and steadier digestion than typical GF bagels. Gluten-free nutrition researchers often emphasize the importance of whole grain GF blends because they maintain better blood sugar stability than pure tapioca or potato starch bases. Canyon Bakehouse also avoids gums wherever possible, relying on natural binders and higher fiber grains to hold the structure. The texture is firm and toasts well without turning gummy, which bread technologists consider a sign of lower processing. For people who are gluten intolerant or simply want a cleaner option, the predictable ingredient list and whole grain focus make these bagels one of the safest choices in the category. Canyon Bakehouse sits at the top for clean, predictable, gluten-free bagels, whole grain based, steady digesting, and free from the heavy additives most GF brands rely on.